Hey everybody, we're back. Sorry for that really long delay. We had a bit of a, problem finding a game, but it's all over now. We finally got a game going. And once again, it's Drekken here and joined by my co-caster, Four Court Jester.
That's how you wink.
That was an introduction to you, man. You could jumped in at any time.
I winked.
You winked, is it? Is it a winky face?
Yep, I winky faced. So the viewers know, man.
The viewers know, but how do I know? How do I know? That's what's really
Well,
important.
you're supposed to be watching the cams. So.
I can't do everything. It's not like I'm a octopus or something. I can just watch cam, run streams, join games. Jeez.
It's the life of the producer, man.
Oh,
The producer.
weep for me, everybody. Weep for me. The life of the producer is a very hard life. I wish it upon no one. So, what round are we are? What round are we in?
Well, we are in round still 32, believe it or not. This matchup is a little behind the times of everyone else. Basically, everyone has done the round of 64, and they're into the 32. Some people are actually all the way into the end of the round of 16. They're just getting into their quarter final matches. So, yeah, we're a little bit behind the times, but this is DeLoAdEr and Meavis. Meavis winning over DeLoAdEr. And DeLoAdEr actually taking it from Raziel. And I guess it's going to be our exclusive party here, Drekken, because we're loading up.
Yep, it's just us in here. Got beat it to the punch. And, what are we going to see? A Protoss versus Terran. On Fighting Spirited 2!
We just saw this map done, too.
I love Fighting Spirit.
Wait, no, sorry, we saw Circuit Breaker.
Yes, we did.
So, yeah, it was Fighting Spirit, 4-player map, I do believe.
I want to say it's a 2-player map. I would have to double check, but
Kind of hard to tell with the map as is, but it's big enough and it's symmetrical enough that it gives me the impression that it's a 4-player map.
Fighting Spirit. Fighting Spirit is actually used in the original Star Leagues of Korea. The original Fighting Spirit, obviously not Starbow Fighting Spirit, but
Yeah, a lot of the maps are actually adaptations of the Brood War classics, and that's really to be expected because Starbow does do a nice blend of both Brood War and StarCraft 2 mechanics.
and what a nice blend it is. It is super awesome to see some of our old favorite units like
Yeah,
Lurkers.
it's totally a 4-player map.
No, it's a 2-player map without cross spawns.
What? No.
Yeah, it's totally a 2-player map.
No. That doesn't
After
happen.
this, we'll double check and we'll.
I've seen this map, but Total Biscuit did a cast on this map.
You know what?
It's totally a 4-player.
We'll do a coin flip, or not coin flip. We'll do a bet on it.
Dude, it's all about
it's a 2-player.
It's all about the Ursidon in the mid. Look at that
look at you.
bloody guy.
Yeah.
He's so cool looking.
Scratch his back. Get a little Ursidon. So yeah, let's jump into the introductions, and then we'll play around with the Ursidon in a second. Starting in the bottom left-hand corner in this 2-player map, we have the orange Protoss Meavis.
And his opponent in the top left, it is going to be DeLoAdEr, our yellow Terran. Dun dun dun. I always feel like you have to add your own music if you want to do the Korean style intros.
I think that is 100% correct. I love to do the Korean style intros. EXTG Meavis.
All right, so what we're going to see here is, depending upon scouting, will really depend upon which way the scouts go, but that will also dictate how aggressive I think Meavis is going to get. So he's going to go gateway into cybernetics. Nothing really too weird there. The Nexus, he might upgrade that fairly soon, but I fully expect to see Meavis actually expand first. Or sorry, DeLoAdEr. Sorry, I totally expect him to see DeLoAdEr expand first,
Go for it.
and then throw down a bunker. And then, again, depending on the aggression, we might see Dragoon harassment early on.
Well, what I'm hoping to see is a fight for this this double sort of mineral in the middle, which this giant Ursidon has taken residence, because I'm hoping that giant Ursidon gets in somebody's way, and unfortunately has to be sacrificed. Unlike some of one of the interesting about Fighting Spirit, unlike some of the maps, it actually has gas in all the spots. Some of the other maps, like Circuit Breaker, don't actually have gas at some of the thirds, and some of the extra maps, they only have minerals. Oh, we got a cross between scouts meeting each other at the top right, seeing each other.
Yeah, I'm fairly sure they saw each other.
Yeah, they saw each other. They know. They know, and now they're at this situation like, well, you can only be at one more spot.
All right, command center being upgraded to orbital. Now, orbital in this game, you don't get mules. You can actually call down SCVs. Why would that be very useful? Well, you can bring down the SCVs anywhere on the map, but unfortunately for you, your SCVs are going to be blind, so you can't really use it for scouting. But it is, again, a kind of a new adaptation of the technique to bring more workers into the world of Starbow. So it's not going to be quite mules, but we have been finally discovered here in the top left for DeLoAdEr. Meavis does find him, and I'm pretty sure I saw the SCV. Where did I see? Yeah, there he is. So the SCV from DeLoAdEr will find the base of Meavis fairly soon, and look at that, a Dragoon on his way to go say hi.
So Meavis has dropped down a pylon at his, I'm going to say his third, but obviously since there is no warp gate, we're not going to see any proxy shenanigans happening here. But he's probably going to be setting up for himself to protect for a secret third right after he goes for attack. Nope, and then we got the Dragoon popping out.
Now, as I said, depending on the scouting, the map is actually smaller than I anticipated. So getting out that Dragoon, again, fairly standard stuff. You go and harass the Terran because typically the Terran will expand, put out a bunker, but Dragoons with explosive, they're explosive damage, by the way. The Dragoons can actually outrange the barracks, believe it or not.
Really, that is something that I'm not even. That's up with their upgrade too.
Yep, Meavis is upgrading it as we speak. About 75% done with that. But the counter to that is going to be mech play from our Terran. So again, I'm a little surprised that the Terran didn't expand first. He is going to finally put down the command center, but getting that siege tank line ready to go and using the high ground advantage, he should be fairly safe from any kind of big Dragoon harass that is going to come down the line in the next few moments.
And that's something that's also kind of unique to Starbow. And I'm pretty sure, I'm not 100% sure, but that there's the actual high ground advantage. And if I wasn't mistaken, that you actually don't get the high ground advantage in StarCraft 2 proper.
StarCraft 2 kind of changed it. Like, you can't shoot up unless you have the vision.
Yes.
In the old Brood Wars, you shoot up, but it's a 50% mischance. So they've actually implemented that here in Starbow, which is why, again, the tank line for defense is going to be key here for DeLoAdEr for just surviving the initial onslaught.
And I think it's really awesome that they actually added that again, that you are able to have that 50% loot or miss damage. It's really put some interesting things when it comes to the attack. Oh, and here it is. He does drop. He's going for a third, which is really greedy as a Protoss to go for a third so early. I'm not really sure what he's going to spend it on to be able to go for such an aggressive econ push, because unfortunately for DeLoAdEr, or maybe fortunate, who knows, he's stuck on a single base and he's a little bit contained. Oh, here it comes. Never mind. Here comes. Command Center is lifting up to go and take his natural.
Yep. And bases are very important in Starbow because, as you might have noticed, we have less mineral patches, but there's more minerals per, and the rate of gain is actually higher per SCV. So you're not going to see quite as many probes or SCVs, not as many workers as you might see in a StarCraft game, but that's because each worker is just working a little bit harder than their StarCraft 2 counterparts. So, putting down the orbital here for the second, very important that DeLoAdEr gets that off his chest. But the third for Meavis, I mean, he has no worries right now at all. Like, all he's seen is one tank, and he's at the only exit of the Terran base. So until he actually sees any kind of threat coming there, he can pretty much comfortably expand as he sees fits.
Vulture is now unloading from the factory, and spider mines being researched. This is going to be very interesting. I'm curious to see what DeLoAdEr is going to do to help push himself out of this, because I'm feeling that the Dragoons are going to have such a strong map control, or at least this part in the early game. With the third, he's going to have a strong economy ready to help him push to whatever his ultimate goal is. He's thrown down the Twilight Council, and looks like he's just getting an observer. I wasn't sure if he's going to go for some maybe Reapers. I'm hoping to see, like, obviously he's not going any air, so maybe he's going to push for a lot of Reapers in the long run. Or maybe just keep going Dragoons.
Well, in the long run, we do got some Zealots coming with the Warp Prism, but for mech play, it's going to be pretty much a primary Dragoon army. I mean, Dragoons just do so well up against siege tanks and up against mech in general. If you look at the explosive damage, 100% against armored, 75% against medium, but 50 against light. I don't know of any massive army compositions of just light mechanical units. Now, you can see the vultures. The vultures with that speed is just ridiculous movement speed. And again, it goes back to the days of Brood War where you can get very slippery, and now the spider mines are coming out as well. So that observatory is going to be very key. But we're also going to have to get used to the fact that we're going to see a lot of vulture harass coming from our tanks.
So these vultures are going to come and tear apart this mineral line here, and without even any... Oh, look at those spider mines doing some massive damage against these dragoons. They just were not prepared. Just dropping the spider mines and chasing these poor probes right back into the main. Oh my
and
goodness.
that's what the vultures do. They slip right by anybody that can't wall up. He's getting some great scouting information, including that Stargate and so many gateways as well. But you know what's the answer here from Meavis? And Meavis actually nothing. I mean, he has all this army at the front of DeLoAdEr's base, but that wall plus the tanks is virtually non-penetratable right now by these dragoons.
He's going to have to figure out a different strategy of how he's going to get in against DeLoAdEr. Right? Whether it's going to be dropships. We have this Warp Prism who's actually waiting here at the top, and it actually can't be seen without some sort of scan because of the positioning right there. But I don't think that Warp Prism is going to be enough, and especially since there is no, like, the Warp Gate mechanics is very different, and like you said, you can't warp in Dragoons. Oh, we're moving out, but these 4 Dragoons are not going to be enough. This mech army is going to tear them apart. The vultures chasing them down. Oh my gosh.
Now, vultures against dragoons, again, like, they're not really, the rock, paper, scissor equivalent of what they're best up against. But with those tanks as the backline, like, that dragoon hit 1 hit point. It literally got away with 1 hit point at the end of it there. But at the same time, again, like, spider mines peppering the map. Very common things. You see missile turrets going up here from DeLoAdEr. He wants to keep those observers away, and if he can get any kind of high ground advantage or any kind of high ground vision, he's going to start ripping in to this wall at the third.
Yes, like these tanks, and like you mentioned the rock, paper, scissors, which is interesting, but I believe that's actually changed a lot in Starbow, where units no longer have hard counters, and now it's all about the weapon and armor damage, kind of like Warcraft 3, if anyone's familiar with that.
And Warcraft, personally, I love Warcraft 3 back in the day. Watching it, casting it, it was amazing.
Warcraft 3 is my favorite. Is my favorite RDS. Absolutely,
definitely a classic. I'm actually a little sad that it is no longer being run anymore. WCG finally hung it up on its proverbial hook.
It was the last organization that was running it, wasn't it?
Yep, it was. But back to Starbow, I mean, we had all those spider mines go down. This base no longer operational. We got a 4th now going down and towards the 6 o'clock position here for Meavis. But the Dragoons have now come in. We do have some upgrades on the way. Already the 1 damage here for the Dragoons, but the tanks not quite there yet. But still, that line with the high ground vision, they are able to do the damage at a 50% rate. Now, they have these spider mines that actually blew up the contingent at the 3rd, and DeLoAdEr's actually finally going to get his 3rd and the SCVs in as well. Spider mines are a fantastic return for value if they survive Draken.
Well, definitely the way that he's been using the spider mines, going into the vultures, going and chasing, dropping the spider mines, retreating, going back in, chasing, dropping the spiders has been a great tactic for these dragoons. These dragoons are unable to really pull up the chase, even with the observers on par. They can't really focus a lot on these vultures because these spider mines are going to cause them a lot of trouble. Not like the widow mines of StarCraft 2.
Yeah, spider mines, however, just you feel much more at home. Another big hit. They're down at the 4th. Those spider mines just tearing into the dragoons as the vultures are just harassing this undefended nexus. The 3rd of Meavis is now going to drop to the tank harass. 1 weapon, 1 armor now done for DeLoAdEr as well. So he's actually feeling really confident right now. He has his 3rd. He's eliminated a base here from Meavis, but the surprise that Meavis is going to have for him is that he has arbiters on the way.
Now, see, I had definitely felt that he had been a bit greedy with his base composition, that he'd and this is Meavis, that he'd been a bit greedy going for the 3rd and not really having the the actual units to back it up. I felt like he wasn't focusing a lot on his production because I feel his Dragoon count is really low in comparison to DeLoAdEr's just super strong. Like his mech army is just massive, but Spider-Man's laid all over, and he's just wretched away map control from Meavis with barely even breaking a sweat.
I mean, it was a little bit dicey in the beginning when we only had a few tanks out, but we haven't really had a lot of consistent pressure coming up from Meavis. DeLoAdEr's pretty much had an answer to it every time. We do got a Zealot going up here to the third of DeLoAdEr. I'm not entirely too sure what one Zealot wants to do, but here comes the rest of the Dragoons, and that's going to be the answer that we're looking for here from Meavis. Up goes the Orbital Command. It is going to get chain repaired here by the SCVs, but wow, is he actually going to let that go? He's instead targeting down the SUVs. He does have the high ground up against these Vultures. Vulture's finally going to move up the ramp. You do have to keep in mind some of the different AI differences between StarCraft 2 and Starbow, because again, it is a good mix of that and Brood, where the tanks go out as well, but I don't know. Didn't get the orbital, so was that worth?
I'm saying not that it wasn't, it wasn't exactly a strong, like, it was a good attack and a great attempt, but you're right, he didn't get the orbital command, so no strategic gain right there other than maybe forcing a few Spider-Mines to have to come out. Already now Goliath's on the screen waiting, I guess, against this Arbiter. Sort of the anti-air answer for the Arbiter once it's out. I don't know if he's gotten a chance to scout it to figure it out, but we'll have to see.
Now, something also to see is that we have a lot of production buildings for both players. I mean, look, we're adding 4 more gateways here from Meavis. With his third down, he's actually going for a replacement for far side of the map, so he is starting to really expand. And again, base is going to be very important because you do need not only the gas, but when the mineral patches do mine out, you're going to have all those SCVs kind of wondering what to do. You need to keep them busy. Vultures, however, very mobile. Again, they are going to find this undefended base here from Meavis. They're not going to be really taking down the Nexus too quickly, but it might actually be quick enough because these Dragoons are just not able to match the mobility of the Vultures, and it's going to be a race here.
Now, I feel like, yep, I don't think they're going to be able to take it. Maybe it's really, really close, but yeah, they're going to get it. They're going to definitely get it.
And you can see the Dragoons, right? They're just kind of stacking up, and he's using not the best of power for the Dragoon because he needed to really just move in and then A-click instead of just A-click and bunch up at the choke. I think he could have saved it. I really do.
100%. If he had just moved all the Stalkers straight into the base and then A-clicked, then that damage would have torn apart those Vultures incredibly quickly.
And so these Vulture strike packs from the Terran, very effective at harass, and as you can see, another pack going here into a base of Meavis. Now, he did go by a Zealot army with Arbiters, so he does know Arbiters are out there, but he already has Science Vessels tech in the bag. He has Science Vessels now out on the floor as well, but Arbiters have another nasty ability that they can throw down when they want, and that's the Stasis Field.
So one thing also to remember, too, is that EMP has been researched. We already have EMP ready to go for the Science Vessels. Ooh, that's going to be very problematic for Meavis if the micro is done well.
Yeah, 200 damage to shields and energy of all units in the targeted area. So friendly fire is enabled on that shot.
So let's see what's going to happen. I'm curious to know. There it is. The Vulture Strike Force is out laying some mines to ensure that if he does decide to expand, he's going to be ready and he's going to know where it is.
41 Vulture mines on the map, 43 now, but again, like, Spider mines, really good at giving you a lot of scouting information, because if you don't see them and they come up, they'll explode something, but if they do get seen, you know there's an observer in that area. And, again, Vulture is very versatile unit, not only with the zone control with the Spider mines, but the mobility to do a lot of these strike attacks. And look at this massive army from DeLoAdEr moving out from base. 1-1 on the weapons. He has a decent amount of Goliaths now out there to deal with the Arbiters, deal with the anti-air, but this could be really sick stasis fields, and we do get off one. There's the second, and that's going to just half the army value.
Oh, jeez, that is absolutely disgusting. That stasis field doing a lot of damage. Like, you know what it is, though? mech is very viable in this game, but we have a little dancing problem. The thing with Stasis Field is the units in the stasis cannot be attacked. And that's something that, unfortunately, I don't think Meavis was prepared for, because he stasis a lot of these units, but now these units have become a trap for him.
But since they can't actually move, it's a great time to put in, your own close target units like your Zealots, but we also didn't have the majority of the Dragoons there from Meavis, so he actually lost 50 supply worth of units, whereas really DeLoAdEr didn't really lose that many. He was able to resupply it very quickly, and I'm a little surprised we did use 3 stasis shots there. I really only expected 2, and take out half the army, and then wait for another half, and take him out again. The science vessels are really nullifying the effect here of the Arbiters. The Arbiters can still attack, but those science vessels with the detection, like, that's just ruining Meavis' day, and you can see the tank line just ripping into this ground army from Meavis, and they are just no more.
Yeah, this tank line is definitely the thing that's holding it down. These Dragoons are not liking it at all. He's definitely going to have to pump out a lot more Zealots to be able to take this down. We have 6 of them already in production with more Dragoons, but these Spider Mines plus these Vultures are going to handle the business of these remaining Dragoons as the army inches ever so closely to his natural.
We got another Vulture Strike Force going off to the other side of the map, just again picking up the production here of Meavis. That engagement, says Meavis, not really going his way, and looking at the units killed and the lost amount of resources, I can definitely agree with him. And he GG's out of that one as he lost almost double the units from that single engagement. So really good work there from DeLoAdEr. The tank army coming out strong. And again, like you said, there's not really the hard counters. But when it comes to mech play, it really does come down to really the Dragoons versus the tanks.
You know what's really awesome, though, is that mech play is viable in Starbow. And where in StarCraft 2's mech play is like full mech is like it's doable, but it's not as effective. Like I felt the effectiveness of that mech play was super strong. Those tanks tore through the Dragoons, tore through even the Zealots didn't get, like, there wasn't many, but he peppered the Zealots along the Dragoon lines, and it was still enough to handle everything that needed to be done.
I do really think, though, that not only the pathing, like, Meavis wasn't really able to kind of deal what he wanted to, but he didn't have his army at that engage in the mid, and 3 stasis fields that was just one too many. I really did expect half the army to get frozen, and he takes out the half and then just surrounds the tanks that can't move. I really expected that to come out, but after the 3rd stasis, it's just like, well, you're not attacking anything.
Well, that's where it went wrong. I think he even said it too, is that this is where that engagement is what did it for him. It's because he went in and he stasis way too many units. He obviously was unable to attack the majority of the army, which was a problem because then his units are waiting around, and suddenly the Dragoons that are there are caught by pathing, and the unfrozen tanks suddenly have a huge wall of other frozen tanks to protect them.
And that's basically how it got whittled down. Like, all the Zealots in the front just got trapped, and the tanks in the back that weren't frozen had a field day, essentially. Not a 55 kill Reaver, but some pretty decent kills on those tanks, and you saw the mobility of the Vultures, and really it's just the Spider Mines, the Vultures, that really did so much economic damage, and the tanks in the front was too much for the Dragoons to handle. It's just, we needed a transition from there. I mean, we dealt with the Goliaths easily enough. Could have easily transitioned to carriers, I think. Yeah, he had the money.
Yeah, well, that's when I saw him building up those 3 bases, I felt that he was preparing for an end game or a strong carrier push is what I thought that's what he was going for. I thought in my head that maybe he's going for carriers. I feel like carriers would be a suitable response for a late game, like preparing himself for the late game, holding it down with Dragoons, transitions to Arbiter, transition then to carriers. Carrier Arbiters, a pretty dangerous combination when you can't see little ants attacking you from the sky. But that's not how it went. Not at all.
Sadly enough. Are we looking for another game then?
Yes, we are. So what we'll do, we'll cut to a quick break, and we'll be back in just a few. So guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be back with another game for the ESL Starbow Cup number 2.